Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. So they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but what if your pen could wield both a lightsaber and a shepherd's staff? Today's guest has spent over 30 years as a pastor and somehow found time to write 12 books that range from epic fantasies to biblical historical fiction. Dr. Bill Senyard has an inspiring tale of how he's written books going from The Tale of the Unlikely Prince to The Garden Tale to The Rabboni to The Dance Stars of the Most High, and it's going to be very exciting to learn more about them and some writing tips as well. So without further ado, Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It is great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation. Yeah, let's dig deep.
Let's do it. Let's dive right in. But before we talk about the books, I always like to learn a little bit more about the author itself, because of course that's what inspires the books. So you were a pastor for over 30 years. How does that inspire your approach to writing fantasy for young people?
Yeah, that's good. So before I became a pastor, I was a very insecure young man, and body image issues, struggled with just a number of things that most people struggle. But yeah, I had loads and loads and loads of insecurities, and I've had lots of counseling for why. And it started in my youth. It started in my infancy and went through teenage years and high school. And so I do have a special place in my heart for people who have insecurities. We call them teenagers. And it's we're seeing it, right? We're seeing it today with the school shootings, and there was a school shooting just nearby me last week.
Yeah.
And, not an evil kid, it's a kid who has issues. And for whatever reason, it was unknown or the parents didn't know what to do. Could be social media. Most likely COVID had something to do with that, and the fear and angst resulting from those kind of things. But I would also suggest it has to do with what they're putting into their brains between 10 and 16, which neuroscientists tell us that's the do-over. That's where our brains are being shaped the most, where our worldview is being shaped the most. Is the world safe? Is it not safe? Is it dangerous? Is it a place of value that I can play a big old sandbox? Plus my own worldview, my identity. Am I lovable? Am I worthwhile? Am I attractive? Do I have hope? Will there be somebody who thinks I'm attractive and will love me? Boy, during the 10 to 16 time frame, all of that's being shaped. That's where social media is doing its most powerful work. And I don't think it's shaping good worldviews for kids.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really deny that. The amount of content out there and the amount of experience children have with technology these days, it's no joke, I've been a teacher as well. I know what it's like to see these kids walking in with their iPads, their tablets, and they know how to use these boards better than most teachers do, so it's crazy. But I see where you're going with that. It seems like you have a mission then in your book.
Yeah, it is. And so, CDC numbers, 42% of adolescents are experiencing severe sadness and hopelessness. 42%? Are you kidding me? And then 46% of adolescents, that same age group, say social media makes them feel worse about their body image. Well, yeah, that's a problem. So fantasy has, since Tolkien and Lewis, Tolkien sort of inventing modern fantasy, they actually wrote right in the end of World War II, partly to help the teens of the United Kingdom, Britain, feel better about the disaster that was left after the war. They had what we would call today PTSD, and C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien wrote Chronicles of Narnia and The Hobbit in order to give teens hope. The stories end well. There's hopeful characters of high moral fiber. There's a powerful sort of behind the scene force that's moving things to a good ending. So it really was a powerful escapism. And then real quickly, when the Lord of the Rings came to the United States, it was 1968. And you're too young for this, but in '68, that was when the assassinations had just happened
Mhm.
in the United States. Vietnam was heating up, and the place was falling apart. And the number one book was the fantasy Lord of the Rings. And teenagers and young adults found hope in those books. And I want to recover that. I think if they were here today, Lewis and Tolkien, they would be begging parents and teenagers to read good fantasies.
Well, there you go. You mean you're filling that bin of books for them to draw from as they're doing that now, right?
Trying,
I like that
trying.
you're carrying on that legacy.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know what I was looking reading through materials, you make it very clear that you're inspired by those two authors because
hmm
it's written everywhere. You're deeply influenced by them, so that's perfect. And I think that anybody listening today can, you know, learn from that too. It's important to
Right.
find a role model, someone to base your approach off of, especially
Right.
groundbreakers like that.
Right. Yeah. The average, a good book, a teenager, that age group, 10 to 17, reading a good book, their anxiety drops 68%. Now, there are anxiety creating books out there, and that's one of the things I do when I'm on the speaking in conferences and such. There are fantasies that create anxiety. You know, for 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, for a 68-year-old, I love them. But for the 10 to 16-year-olds, it's actually shaping a worldview where they're afraid of the world.
Yeah, and that's not what we want, especially since you mentioned before current events. We don't want fear.
Right.
We need to be nurtured. So
Right? It sounds reasonable to me.
exactly. Well, hey, it's true that evident that you have this mission, but also to all of our audience members who might not know this, Bill, you've won a ton of awards for these books.
Yeah, yeah. Who knew that I could pastor? Actually, I was an engineer before I was a pastor and a management consultant. So who knew I could actually? My high school English teacher didn't think I could write. So, yeah, we actually have won an award. The last one, the Tale of the Orphan Magician, which is the number 4 in the Kingdom Quest series, just won an award, the International Impact Book Award, Christian Youth and Teen Faith Books for Fantasy. So I'm excited about that. The books are up for a number of other awards, and it seems to be resonating with parents and grandparents who are they're just looking for some positive stuff they can put in their kids' heads that's interesting and entertaining and fun and got good characters. In the end, good overcomes evil. You know, the stuff we used to read.
I love that. And I think it's the perfect transition into the book itself, The Tale of the Unlikely Prince.
hmm
I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. For all of our listeners, it involves Prince, is it Yield?
Yelled.
Yelled.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got feelings that he's not enough. So tell us a little bit about that. Clearly, it's built right into this theme that you're building with your brand.
It is. So back to insecurity, attachment theory says that when there's an infant, their brain, even though they're not forming the words, is subconsciously asking the question, is there anyone out there for me? So when they cry, they're wet, they're hungry, they're in pain, they're afraid, they want their caretaker to come and not just be there, but to hold them. And the idea is there's somebody there for me. Now, when kids become adolescents and then teenagers, that one sentence pairs off into two, and it's, am I enough? Is there anybody? Am I lovable? Am I smart? Am I funny? Am I that's a big one. And the second one is there anybody who has my back? Is there somebody who's got me when I mess up and still loves me as I am? And so my books, for adults as well, by the way, but for children, those are the two questions teens of that age are subconsciously asking. Am I lovable? And is there somebody who has my back? Am I enough? So the first one was this kid, this prince, Yeled in the Hebrew, that means son. So he's the son. He's adopted by the great king after a very bad childhood and emotionally absent father. So he's automatically the prince of this great kingdom, and he, like teenage boys and girls, he doesn't feel like he's worthy, and he feels like people are looking at him and going, "Why is he the prince? He was just so beat by the king," and so he says, "I got to prove myself." So he asks the king for the quest beyond all quests, because he wants to prove to himself, the king, and to his mirror that he's actually worthy of being a prince. So the king looks at the royal vizier Nomos, this wonderful Scottish character, and who's trained Yeled, and they put him on this quest that it's ridiculous. It's funny, it's quirky. There's dragon baseball leagues and all kind of fun characters, but he's going to fail. And
Mm.
this is the greatest fear of teenagers is I'm going to
Anybody,
fail
really.
anybody, or I'm going to be exposed. All my uglies or that secret I've been trying to keep is all going to be exposed. So in my quest books, the king generally puts people on quests that they're going to fail, which really distinguishes it from a lot of quest books where in the end, the quester finds a secret mantra or special sword or whatever, and then they end up winning, right? And that fits with the American mantra, right? The do good, personal, independent. But what in my books, they actually have to learn that they need the king. Can I read you a section from the book? Because this would be a lot of fun.
Please. Yeah,
So,
that sounds great.
so I did the audible for this one. It was a lot of fun. So this is Yelid. He's failed. He really, really, really failed. He's depressed. He's going to head back he's got to go to tell the king he just blew it. He's with the royal counselor who's been with him trying to tell him, look, he'll be okay. And then Nomos, he's that vizier that I mentioned who actually trained Yelid. So Yelid's about to he's about at the castle, and Nomos stops him. And here's the dialogue, and you'll get the idea. Nomos starts. So tell me, lad, how's the quest? Did you slay the nasty dragon? Yelid. Nomos, with all due respect, I failed badly. I brought disgrace to myself and shame to my king. I'm not worthy to be called his son. Nomos paused, compassionately gazing into the young lad's eyes. Oh, you foolish lad! You're not making any sense. I didn't ask about those dragons. I could care less about those insignificant reptiles. I asked if you slayed the dragon. That was your quest. The royal steward invited the confused Yelid to sit on a nearby log. My prince, inside your head lives a hungry dragon, voraciously consuming almost every compliment, every statement of love, every honor. The beast quickly extinguishes any feelings of you being enough. Your dragon prevents you from feeling like the son any father would be proud of. Your quest was ultimately designed for you to face that dragon, your dragon. Well, how can I slay a dragon I can't see? How can I slay a dragon that is me? You can't. That's the whole point, the irony of it all. You can't. Now you have two paths. You can keep feeding your inner dragon for the rest of your life, never feeling good enough, or finally admit you can't do it and run helplessly to the arms of the king. There is real healing power there, and there alone. The king knew you would fail, humanly speaking. It was the goal of the quest. Sometimes such a shaming is redemptive. Even failure in the careful hands of a wise king can lead to an end far greater than all the successes combined. All you ever needed was need, and you didn't have that until now.
Wow. You've probably heard this before, but have you considered an audiobook version?
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely an audible, and I did do it.
Then.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, and you voiced it yourself. Those are the voices.
Yeah, they're all going to be voiced. The second one, my daughter is doing that. She is, she's really good. So she'll be doing the second one, and that's in process right now. But,
that's awesome. No, I love the way you did that. Very inspiring, very fun too. I think it's something a lot of teens can jump right into.
There's a lot of humor. I'm trying to attract parents into this. Someone had described this as Chronicles of Narnia and Princess Bride put together. If you remember the movie Princess Bride.
I forget.
Yeah, so kind of humorous and a lot of fun and quirky, but just a real feel-good at the end where the king, turns out the king actually loves failed questers. That's his specialty. And that's just really, really good news for teenagers to hear that there is somebody, a good father, that their brain has been looking for that actually loves them as they are. And that's what we're all looking for. That's what I'm looking for at age 68.
Yeah, of course. I think everyone has something along those lines that they've got on their goal set.
Right.
So yeah, really cool stuff. I wish we can talk about a little bit more of your other books though too.
Sure.
There's so many things out there, and we only have a little bit of time left on this episode, but I'm going to let you pick because we have a ton to work with here. I think the audience is excited to hear about them too. So we have the Garden Tale, the Rabioni, we have the Dance Daughters of the Most High. What's your heart calling to right now? Which one do we want to focus on right before we head off? What do you think?
Yeah, maybe we should just stay with the children's fantasies. The
Okay.
Garden Tale, which is number 3, it is really about addiction and about social media and the dangers of social media. So the antagonist, a Gorgon by the name of Dolos, has convinced the entire country that there is no more king, and he's used kind of an addictive fruit substance and a kind of a social media to do that. So the king has to send in the special forces to somehow convince the country that he's still there. And so it really is for kids that age who are so susceptible to, it's not judgment, it's their brain. They're susceptible to addiction. Is the dangers of addiction and the alternative to addiction. Again, a father figure, looking for a father figure that loves you as you are, and drugs don't do that. So that's the idea.
Understood. Yeah, no, thank you for kind of walking us through that one. There's so many out there. Guys, you need to go onto his website and check out all of them. He's got them all listed out for us, from the teens version to all those other genres as well. So even if maybe you're not a teen, or you're looking for something else, you have a ton, something for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also let's talk about the writing process too. I think it's so important for us to chat about that a bit. How do you approach writing for that specific age group, from 10 to 16 years old, while also keeping adults engaged too? What's the strategy that you have there? I mean, when you were reading the book out loud, clearly it's very entertaining, but how do you strike that balance?
Yeah, so my goal is not just to write books that are entertaining. I really do want to fall into the same philosophical standards of Tolkien and Lewis. They had certain things in mind that they wanted to teach. And so they were both Christians. So instead of being preachy and dogmatic and factual, they put these lessons in children's speak, and fascinating. And so as a child enters into the miracle of books, right? Enter into the story as the protagonist, they actually learn about the truths that the Christianity talks about, and that's what I've wanted to do. So in my years of a pastor, I've kind of boiled things down to, I think, 4 or 5 very critical, important things that can change lives that, in my opinion, aren't getting out there too much because of the halls of religion and institutional religion and stuff, I think, that are just getting in the way. And so that's the idea. So every book in the children's, and also the women, the Dance Daughters of the Most High, every one of them has truths that I want to say that could change lives positively, not shaming or guilt producing or judgmental. Actually, it's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. If that's true, that's really good news.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thank you for that. I think a lot of authors can learn a ton from that bit of advice right there. But also a huge part of what you do, of course, based on your experience as a pastor, it's ingrained in the Bible and spiritual teachings. So what about your strategy for weaving that in there? Because that's another whole factor too.
The Bible.
Yeah, of course.
So, interesting. So I'm introducing characters to this king who is more than he looks like. So there is a king biblically. This is the story of Jesus. It's the story of God the Father and the Holy Spirit. There's actually a God out there who loves broken people, who loves messes, who actually pursues them. That's his nature, I believe. And so I write books that proclaim this person, this entity, who loves the unlovable, the unloved, and the unlovely, the unlikely, and the unworthy. And that doesn't get out much, but that's the nature of Jesus. I wrote a book called The Rabboni, which really has to do with kind of a historical fiction of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And we mistake the Sermon on the Mount as some kind of TED's talk, but it's actually Jesus standing on the hillside with all these broken people who were outsiders. They were the tokoi, tonamati, which is the poor in spirit. But what that means is they were the people nobody wanted at Thanksgiving dinner. They were broken, they were sick, they were multicultural, and Jesus looks at them and says, by the way, I'm giving you the kingdom. And he just personally says you're in. And that's crazy, but that's the nature of Jesus. That's the nature of God. And so heaven's going to be filled with the most wonderful, unlikely, unworthy, unlovable people now loved. And that's ridiculous good news.
Definitely. No, that's really sweet to know too, and inspiring. And that's exactly what we said we need, right? We need hope. We
I
need
think
message. Yeah, yeah. So thanks for that. And you kind of weave that into all of your books,
I do. I do.
be it the teen books or the other genres as well. So
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it's the message I want to get out there. And the teen books aren't preachy or no Bible quotes. Now, having said that, the next one is going to be an allegory in the book of Job. So it's putting why do bad things happen to good people? Why do unjust things happen? And I can't make any sense of it. So in a fantasy book, the character is going to ask those exact questions. So again, these are questions that teenagers are asking in this crazy world that's going berserk.
yeah, exactly. So there you go. You're answering the questions. You're inspiring them. It's exactly what we need. Well, they need and we need.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, this has been really inspiring. And I guess another question for you then is what's next on the radar? I mean, you've got all these books out, but something tells me you're not quite done yet.
So I'm glad you asked. October 1st, my book on marriage is coming out.
Okay.
So it's a book for a specific audience, are Christian couples, but it's Christian couples. So the way I divide it up is 1 to 10. Couples 1 to 6, their marriage is pretty good. Their relationships are pretty good. They just need some inspiration and some tips and techniques and things like that. But the 7 to 10s, the ones that are headed towards divorce, they're heading towards murder, heading towards whatever, they actually despise, and if they admit it, they actually hate each other. This is the book for them. It's called Before the Couch. And it's inspiration and things that I've actually used that have been very helpful to a lot of people, either for that marriage or their next marriage, because sometimes it's just broken, right? So, I believe. Can I say this real quickly?
Please do.
So I believe we've been asking the wrong question for those broken couples. Instead of what do I need to do better to love my spouse, to change things? Do I need to date more, love languages, whatever it is, which haven't worked. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in that situation. They've tried that. All these things that I need to do. I don't think that's the right question. I think the right question is this. Look up to God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit and say, wait a second, Jesus, are you saying that you love that person who did all those things to me? Well, if that's true, then I actually need to tap into that. So how do I tap into your love for this unlovable person? And that's a different, better question. It's actually starting off with, I can't do this.
Understood.
It's like Yelad. He fails on the quest, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's a great metaphor, tying it all back to that too.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And guys, October 1st, it's coming up sooner than you might think. So
I know.
So I guess we can just kind of stay up to date with that on the website itself, or what's the best method for everyone to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can find all these books on Amazon and Kindle, one right now on Audible, but they can check out my website, bill@gospel-app.com, and you can find all of those books. You'll see on the tab, Dr. Bill's books, and there's a bunch. There's a bunch of workbooks, and far more than anybody will be able to read.
Okay, well, you heard it here, everybody. We'll put the links in the description box of the podcast today. Yeah, so you can all, get in touch and be connected and be ready for it. So yeah, all this being said then, I really appreciate you coming on. I think we learned a ton today, and we chatted about a bunch of your work, and there's even more out there. So guys, get in the know, learn a little bit more. Go check it all out.
Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And to all of our listeners out there, if you're inspired by this, check it out. Remember that Bill's unlikely princes and overlooked heroines, you have the story worth telling too. Just like in his books, you have a story worth telling also, and a mission worth.
Yes.
So yeah, just keep writing yourself, keep believing, keep inspiring others, and that's the way you can help others. And check us out on the next episode of the Authors on Mission podcast.
This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.